Senate. I rise in opposition to House File 2416 this afternoon. I've heard a lot of talk about this bill, and a lot of it, I think, is rooted in the fear of the unknown. And that fear is being stoked by conversations and examples that have nothing to do with Iowa or the policies we already have in Iowa. We're not talking about elite Olympic or professional athletes here. We're talking about Iowa and Iowa kids. I've repeatedly heard from supporters of this bill that if transgender youth are able to play sports, other students, non-transgender girls, are harmed. In fact, schools across Iowa have successfully implemented policies that treat all youth, including transgender youth, fairly with those policies. Iowa students, Mr. President, have not been harmed. For 15 years, the Iowa Athletic Association and the Iowa schools have figured this out. The Iowa Girls Union and the Boys Athletic Association policies guide local school districts to allow transgender girls to participate on the sports team matching their gender identity. In making these very rare and very individualized decisions, our schools and athletic organizations look to whether trans girls consistently identify as girls at school, home, and socially. In the years since this policy was adopted, there have been no dominance by transgender athletes or threats to girls' sports in Iowa. None. Let me repeat that. There have been no instances that a trans girl has won a state track meet or played on a state tournament girls basketball team here in Iowa. Iowa schools have already created policies that protect transgender youth and ensure a level playing field for all our students. Banning transgender youth from participating in sports undermines those efforts. Iowa schools know that transgender students, like any students, thrive when they are treated with dignity and respect. When schools recognize that a transgender girl is a girl during the school day, but then treat her as if she's a boy when sports practice starts, it's hurtful to the student and disrupts the school's policy on treating all kids fairly. Sports are great for so much, Mr. President. As the state legislature, we should not make laws that deprive trans girls from all these benefits. Mr. President, this debate reminds me of a debate we had in this chamber in March of 2004. I've been around here a long time. It was a very controversial issue that was dividing Iowans. The issue was the question of whether gay and lesbian Iowans would be prevented from marrying the ones they loved. The issue was the question of whether gays or lesbian Iowans would be able to marry the ones they love. Or would Iowa change its constitution to ban gay marriage? It was intensely debated inside and outside of this chamber, and when the bill was brought up for debate, it actually wasn't 100% clear if it was what the outcome was going to be. In 2004, the constitutional amendment resolution was done on a roll call vote of every senator. When the roll was read and all the senators were counted, 3 Republican senators joined 22 Democrats in blocking that amendment on a vote of 25 against, 25 in favor, and the resolution failed. Those 3 Republican senators were Mary Lundby, Don Redfern, and Maggie Tinsman, good Senate colleagues. Their historic votes were a profile in courage. Those senators took a hard and principled vote that day. They chose to stand up for human rights. They chose to be on the right side of history. And they are remembered today, right here, right now, 18 years later. Mary Lundby from Marion, Don Redfern from Cedar Falls, Maggie Tinsman from Bettendorf. It was history they were making that day in the Iowa Senate. I don't think that that the question before us today, there's any doubt in the outcome of this vote, Mr. President. But I also know there are colleagues across the aisle that are not comfortable with this bill. Some of you don't think this bill is needed. We all know deep down that banning trans girls from all the benefits that playing sports provides is wrong. Trans girls are girls. They are our children. They deserve the same support, nurturing, and opportunity of every Iowa girl. I hope that we will see some courage this afternoon, Mr. President. I hope that all of you will stand up for human rights. History will revisit this moment. How will you be remembered at this historic moment? I urge a no vote on this legislation. Let's come back together and make for some sensible policy.